Hey everyone, welcome to episode 2 of Talk Shop. Today I have my very best friend Alex Rueve with us. Alex has been an entrepreneur, solopreneur, side hustler since long before it was cool. So I thought it would be great to have her on so she can share all of her hard-won lessons around e-commerce and starting your own online shop.
Yeah, so I'll give a quick synopsis of who I am, what I do. I started working very young in my family business. My mom started a jewelry company. We're both Millefiori artists. And I mean, between there, we had a really successful company. We had 40 employees. We had multiple locations. We sold out of Australia. We sold out of Japan. We were constantly traveling and going all over. This started like 30 years ago.
You've literally done it all. Basement, brick and mortar, international sales, and then closing that down to go completely e-commerce, which I think a lot of people are going into that today. So I would ask you first, what are the 3 biggest challenges in having an online shop or selling online?
Selling online, one, I would say really communicating your vision and what you want to do. Another thing is also picking a platform, and I know we have a lot to discuss on that. So what type of online presence do you want, and how is it going to work for you? Then really creating that community and creating that tribe and maintaining it, maintaining the connection.
So I think your 3 biggest challenges are really like the 3 biggest decisions that anyone needs to make when starting an online shop. They need to have a vision that they can clearly communicate and work around. You have to figure out what are the tools, how are you going to actually transact in the world. And you're gonna need people to buy it. So you're gonna need a community. And so those are really the 3 kind of pillars. I think to spend some time on the second one a bit, we always go back and forth between the Coke and Pepsi of e-commerce platforms, which is Shopify and Squarespace.
Yes.
You all probably know I only design Squarespace websites right now because aesthetically it looks good. You've had both.
I've had both.
So having both, what do you love, hate about each one?
Okay, so we'll try to make this as simple as possible, but really there is thousands of features we could really talk about. So I tend to be more on the Shopify side because I like the robustness. I like that you can plug in all of these different tools and expand this one website that you have. So everything's really centralized, your customer data, you have so many different avenues that you can sell. You can sell within social media, Google, Amazon, Etsy, and have all of your products in one place.
And I think to go back to the Coke and Pepsi, Shopify is the Coke. They are the OG, okay? They were first there, which is probably why they're kind of a little bit uglier right now. And Squarespace is the new cool Pepsi.
Yes, totally.
But to your point, I think the robustness is important to think about because I say to my clients, if you have 10 to 20 products, you're just starting out, really anything less than 100, you can get by with Squarespace, especially if you never plan to have much more than that. If you're gonna be like Alex and have a huge e-commerce presence, you probably need Shopify.
Right. And what I like about Squarespace, and when I had a Squarespace, I was content crazy. I was good at it. I could create a page, a landing page.
By yourself, with no help.
By myself. That was so huge. Event pages, information, and it was easy. It was pretty much just like drag and drop and type it up, and it looked flawless. So I think that is a huge benefit that Squarespace has, just being design driven. Shopify, you're going to have a little bit more trouble with this when you're trying to be content heavy. So product wise, it is robust, it's easy. The payments, Squarespace actually only takes 2 types of payments. That's PayPal and Stripe. And Shopify, you can plug in whatever payment processor you have. So if you already have a brick and mortar store and say you're using, someone who, this happened to me, who comes into your store and sells you the payment processing, you can actually keep that contract that you have going and just plug that in. So again, here we are. It's a tug of war.
I would say another factor to consider is where you are with your budget right now. If you don't have any money and you don't know if this is gonna be a viable business, I like Squarespace because it's so affordable right now. And Shopify, I think even some of the basic plans, because they're so robust and they have all those features, they just tend to be a little bit more expensive. And if you wanted to have it designed beautifully, you'd probably want to have a designer and a developer that specializes in Shopify.
Both. Absolutely.
And I know personally that a really good Shopify website can be like $30,000.
It can be pricier.
Whereas Squarespace, even a designer for that or a developer, I don't think would be as expensive.
And I also think that someone just like me who isn't, design goddess, I could make I easily maintained that website all by myself, and it was so easy and so simple. What else I like about Shopify, it had all my client data from years and years ago, and it's great information.
And that's another good point is, even when clients come to me, I tell them, if you have a vision for this being really big in the future, I don't really even want to set you up on Squarespace, because to transition that is going to be such a pain in the butt. Another thing is, going back to the Coke and Pepsi, I do think Squarespace is working really hard to buy a lot of companies. They bought Acuity Scheduler, which I know you use to schedule the readings.
Well, I still do.
So I know they're trying to meet that level. So maybe in a year we won't be having this same battle.
And I mean, if they had those functionalities that Shopify had, I would probably do Squarespace, because it is easy for you as an entrepreneur to edit it, to update it, and to really maintain great control over it.
I would say we built your Squarespace website in
a weekend.
Yeah. And then the Shopify one, which is beautiful, you worked with a real developer.
It took me a lot of planning and a lot of time.
Like months.
Right,
yeah.
But the main trouble that I have is creating more and more content or informational pages, because that's going to be a lot of coding. Great news is that if you do have a developer on your team, or you have that access to one, Shopify will be also pretty easy, because you can get into the code and you can customize it 100,000%. There is a lot more difficulty coding, the coding aspect of Squarespace.
So speaking of your most loved tools, what are 3 tools you cannot live without on a daily basis for running your e-commerce?
Right. So I would say you need somewhere to have all of your to-dos and your task lists, because I was one that would handwrite everything and I would have pages everywhere. Not the most functional way to get your job done. So I would say Trello is a really awesome free option too, where you can have all of your to-dos, all your task lists, all your links, all your pictures, all your everything, even if you are working by yourself or you have a very small team. It's great to really keep everything organized and centralized. Another one, I would say Google Docs. When it comes to organizing, collecting customer data, writing scripts for the podcast, so it is a big job. My third cannot live without tool would be MailChimp. MailChimp is an easy way for me to get the content and information out to my clients that want it. And so I would say MailChimp is an amazing, or even just an email marketing tool, but email marketing, it's not dying. I don't think it's going anywhere. So, and it's a great way to share information.
And you mentioned earlier, a lot of people have an idea and they just think, I just need a logo, or I just need to get a shop online. But there's so much that goes into creating a successful business.
Right.
So as you look back, is there 1 thing, is there 3 things that really made you guys successful, or just last this long? Because congratulations.
Thanks.
That's a long time.
Thanks. Okay, so I think there's so many so many things that I could say here. One, I'm going to say the story, because people are not just buying your products. They're not just buying your services. They're buying like who you are and what you're about. So if you have, an interesting story, share it, please. I mean, people will get behind you and then share your story to their friends, especially for people who are just starting out.
And I definitely second that, because as you know, when I create a brand, the first thing we do is, what do you do? Why do you do it? Who do you do it for? And we get your story down. So I love that is your piece of advice.
Right. Whatever business you're doing, whatever hustle you're trying, create that vision. It's key. It's the part where it's going to drive every other aspect of your company.
And I think the competition, before you're one shop in this town and you're the only one that sells beads on the internet,
you're now
just
a
so
teeny
many
little fish
people are
in
doing
a
this.
big ocean, right?
Yeah.
And the vision is there. It's there. No one else has to create it. It's inside.
Well, I think those are all of my questions. So thank you for sitting down with me and Keela today.
Of course. Anytime.
If people want to find intention beads, they can go to...
Yeah, go to my website, intentionbeads.com. Check out my podcast, Astrological Intentions, where you're going to get like a weekly astrology guide, as well as my mom and I discuss the talismans that are being made.
Yeah, and I listen to that every Monday. So I will link all of Alex's contact info in the Talk Shop show notes so that you can easily find it.
Yeah. Well, thank you everybody for having me, and it's been a pleasure.
And if you like this episode, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Until next time.
Bye-bye.